You're watching TVC Breakfast. It's now time to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I have joining me in the studio, political analyst Oladeinde Ariyo. Thank you so much for being on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
And joining me via Zoom is PR consultant and public affairs analyst Ambrose Igboke. Thank you so much for being there.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Great. Makes sense. Let's quickly look at what the newspapers are saying this morning. First news with a screaming headline, Abba Kyari's case worsens rather. Abba Kyari's case worsens. That's the headline there. Very, very screaming headline there. Nigerian News Direct, $61,400 cocaine bribe. IGP charges NDLEA to investigate officers. And the writers have it as police indict drug agencies officers for compromise. And again, hand over Kyari 4 others for prosecution. Nigerian News Direct, $61,400 cocaine bribe. IGP charges NDLEA to investigate officers. So we can see that this is really making the headlines today. Blueprint has it as PSC awaiting reports on Hush Puppy, Super Cop Abba Kyari, 4 others in 25-kilogram cocaine deal. Wow. Writers with established involvement of international narcotics cartel, police saying that, and the NDLEA says suspects grilled in our custody. That's according to the Blueprint. Let's go to Punch newspaper. That has the newspaper headline here under the nameplate, Drug Business. Police tackle NDLEA. Agency detains Abba Kyari, 4 others. Kyari runs drug cartel that passes through Brazil, Ethiopia, Nigeria, NDLEA. That's a network of dealings there. Now arrest your officers on payroll of drug barons. Police reply anti-drug agency. That's a fight back kind of. DSP went on an alleged illegal operation while on suspension, say Federal Headquarters, FHQ, NDLEA. The Guardian newspaper, we have the Kika Super Cup Super Scandal. NDLEA releases shocking details of Kyari's drug deals. Rights group hails NDLEA. It's a tragic end to a glorious era, says Sage. Another writer reads, it should be charged to court immediately, says Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Falana. His lawyer alleges setup. Well, it remains to be seen how that actually is going to play out. The Nation newspaper is next. Abba Kyari for extradition to US after NDLEA probe. That's a new twist. Suspended police chief, others taken to custody after being linked to drug deals. How presidency forced IG to release him to anti-drug agency. That's what the Nation newspaper reports this morning. And the Nigerian Tribune has his own story as drug business. That's the Kika. Kyari, 4 policemen arrested, NDLEA officials indicted. And the reader reads how he negotiated release of 25-kilogram cocaine, offered $61,400 cash. That's according to the agency. Vanguard is next. Drug bust. How NDLEA nailed, arrested DCP Kyari, 4 others. Suspended police chief implicated in 25-kilogram cocaine deal. NDLEA declared Kyari wanted after he allegedly shunned invitation. That's according to the Vanguard newspaper. This day is next. Wanted Super Corp Abba Kyari, 4 others in NDLEA custody over drug dealing. And also under the nameplate, we've got Aregbesola tears into Tinubu, accuses him of playing God. Well, that's the This Day newspaper there. And over the nameplate, we've got Emefiele. It's Buhari's prerogative to plan his succession, says is focused on supporting federal government's economic recovery drive. Insists it's only God that anoints leader. Well, there we go. Leadership newspaper is next. NDLEA indicts Abba Kyari, 4 others for the corpse of drug trafficking. The riders suspects arrested. Disgraced super cop is a member of transnational drug cartel. We have evidence to jail him. NDLEA there. Now, Daily Trust is next. Cocaine scandal, that's a kicker, heads to roll as NDLEA remands Kyari. Others. White top brass worked to suppress case. Anti-drug law officers also involved in police. And lastly, embattled DCP can be tried immediately. That's according to lawyers. This Nigeria is next. Alleged drug deal gone awry. Kyari sat till rather, embattled DCP Kyari in NDLEA custody. 4 police officers also arrested over 25-kilogram cocaine deal. How it was caught sharing over $61,000 drugs, $61,000 drugs proceeds. Daily Sun. Over 8,000 child soldiers recruited by armed groups in Northeast. That's according to UNICEF. And on the air of the newspaper, 2023 PDP APC presidential tickets will determine Igbo destiny. Ohaneze. Pressure mounts on Atiku to dump presidential ambition. And it's not, its own screaming headline here is APC chair race narrows to Al-Makura, Adamu, Musa, CPC elements, governors, young party members push for favored candidates. Daily Times is next. Why governors contested executive order 10, that's according to Governor of Ekiti State Fayemi, says governors still committed to financial autonomy for state judiciary legislature despite Apex Court verdict. That's according to the Daily Times. National economy, health expenditure to rise as federal government floats free healthcare services, may borrow more to fund new scheme for poor Nigerians. Wow. And lastly, on the newspaper here, but not the least, Business Day, first time for Nigeria, $100 oil price means nothing. Wow. That's what we have. You know, the newspaper is screaming Abba Kyari here and there. Let me quickly bring this to Zoom. Let me take it to the studio first. Abba Kyari, very, very well-decorated super cop, national pride, so to say. How did you receive the news when you heard about, apart from the fact that he was facing one issue currently, the one that he was indicted in the hush puppy, talking about extraditing him to the United States and all that. This is coming again. In January, this happened. Involved in drug cartel. How did you receive the news?
Well, I'm not surprised, and I will tell you why. Growing up in Abeokuta, there was a justice, Oladeinde Ariyo. You know, I was a very small boy. He was a judge, and you would never see him visiting people. You would never see him attending social events. It was from his house to the court, from the court back to his house. The only place you could see him was in the church. And I remember it was my father's personal friend. He never came to our house. And the few times my father went to see him, I happened to have accompanied him. That was an example of somebody occupying very sensitive posts. There are offices that if you find yourself holding, you must detach from the community, from the people. It's important so you can keep your sanity and sustain your integrity. By the time this young man started attending social parties where they were spraying money, there was no way that he's a human being. It's not. It can never be perfect. Nobody is anyway, and it's not the God. Now, for me, those were the places he started missing his calling. Now, hush puppy's case was on ground. So much manipulations have taken place that people were now saying that government was covering up for him. That ordinarily, were to have come from another region of the country, by now it would be cleaning his feet in America. But on another school of thought now said this one was brought up to stop his being extradited. You understand? That this case was brought up to prevent him from being extradited.
That's another insinuation.
Yeah, despite the vivid video that has been in circulation, and since General Marwa became NDLEA chairman, he's done so wonderfully well that it could come this far. So for me, it's an inglorious end to a rather glorious career for him. Head or tail, he will never be the same again.
Well, let's take this to a public affairs analyst and PR consultant, Ambrose Igboke. Well, I know that you must have been following developments and what people are saying, feeling the pulse of Nigerians as regards this. The spokesman of police, for the police, CSP Olumoyiwa Adejobi, said that Abba Kyari should be seen as an individual, though part of the institution, but then this issue should not rub off on the institution, the police institution as a whole. So we should treat him as Abba Kyari, not seeing the rot in the police. But can we separate the wheat from the chaff here?
Not exactly. You know, there's an African proverb that says that when one finger picks oil, that there's a tendency of it to stain the other fingers. The other fingers will be stained with oil as well. As most of the headlines say, they branded Abba Kyari as a super cop, busting crime scenes and bringing some very fantastic arrests and fighting crime, splashing on the pages of newspapers over the years. Nigeria police took the glory, so Nigeria police should also take this one, because when you take the glory, you take the liability as well. So I understand the point of it, that the Nigerian police should not be construed as being involved in this. So it's a sad commentary on our institutions. It's not just the police. Across the very fabric of our society and country, things are not going well. Therefore, Abba Kyari's case is just an example of the rot that we have in our system that is going on. And this issue was, began to be highlighted, just like Mr. Ariyo said, when you hobnob and when you your posturing in the society actually, sometimes reveals some certain things. I remember last year, when I attended the burial of Obi Kubana's mother in Anambra State, tongue started to wag. But what is a police officer of that caliber doing in that wedding, where they were spraying money in a very nuisance way? What was he doing there? So even if it was a friend of the gentleman, there's a way you would have done. You would have kept away, kind of send in your whatever condolence message or whatever, and then there's a way you keep low profile, even as that kind of person who is. But when people raised the matter last year, it was dismissed as can't he visit his friend again, or can't he go to his friend's event. Having said that, the Nigerian police also have to start what we call soul searching and inner cleansing of its inner house. And I don't like this issue of trying to talk to the NDLEA, telling them that their own officers that are involved too. Nigeria police has the capacity of investigation. So if they know that there are some members, some staff of NDLEA that are involved in this drug business, why has the Nigerian police not come up with it? Why have they not done their own discreet investigation or covert investigation? Why have they not arrested this officer? Why have they not brought them to book? Why did the Nigerian police wait till its own man is being arrested for drug-related issue, then it wants to retaliate? Those are not the way to fight crime. So if you know that there are elements in the NDLEA who are involved, they should be investigated, and we shouldn't wait for it to be a retaliatory tool for us to do our jobs. So it's so messy. The case of Hush Puppy is still hanging there. And then sometimes when I listen to the tapes or to the chats that was released by the FBI, and to the way he was also involved in this drug one with NDLEA, I wonder, is it a case of bravado, or a case, because even simple reasoning, some of the things he was sending as chats, some of the things he was, talking on phone over, and some of these things, for a man of his caliber who deals with technology, in use of technology to deal with crime, I wonder how he fell so cheaply to those kind of
right. Let me jump into your line of thought. Well, just like you said, they are, really scandalous. But you talked about the police commission investigating this, because they are known to be very good investigators. But remember that there was an investigation done on Abba Kyari, his relationship, his involvement with Hush Puppy and the likes. They came out with a report, submitted to the IG, submitted to where it was submitted to before the AGF now ordered for another fresh investigation for 2 weeks. You're still very much convinced, optimistic that an investigation can still be carried out on this particular one by the police. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I was saying in essence was that we have one of the headlines that the Nigerian police accused the NDLEA officials of also being on the payroll of some drug cartels. And I was saying that if the Nigerian police knows about this, why has it not taken action?
Right.
Why is it now announcing it as a retaliatory move? Because their own man has been picked by NDLEA. That is the point I was bringing up. And then about the research, remember the investigation against DCP Kyari. Remember that nothing was done until the US, the FBI, now showed enough evidence to show that he was involved in this, and before the Nigerian police was now prompted to now want to investigate him. And even after that, we had to wait till recently when the American government now issued a notice for extradition to the United States before this now came up. So I think we should do some soul searching in this matter and see how we can, as a nation, begin to sanitize our systems so that we won't face this kind of embarrassment in the international community. Well,
so let me come back to the studio to you, Oladeinde Ariyo. The United States is expecting Abba Kyari to...
Have they formally requested for him to be extradited?
That is the question I'm now trying to put to you, that how will these affect, or influence his possible extradition? Is it going to happen at the end of the day?
Don't forget that if he's found guilty of the present charge, he will go to jail. Okay? Now, how do you now extradite somebody who is already imprisoned for another crime?
Or is it possible for him to be extradited, tried? If he's found guilty, he can serve all the terms if he is found guilty
in the United States. No, you cannot. I mean, if you misbehave here, you cannot transfer the punishment to another legal or judicial territory. So that may not work. And that was where I wanted to see some level of credence in those who said it's a setup for him to escape justice in America. Okay, because if he's here, they can manipulate things. I mean, you have had people who are in jail in Nigeria and their wives got pregnant, but they are in prison. But you see, the point in all of this is a lot of lessons there are for people to learn. Okay, he lost his immunity. Okay, because he lacked discretion. Even as a TV analyst, there are ways I don't behave in public places. The other day at a lounge, somebody was shouting at me, and I was like, "What's wrong?" The next thing he said, "Is it because you are a TV personality?" I simply picked my phone and I left. Because before you know, Facebookers or those guys, they will carry their Chinese device and start recording, and then before you know, they will say TVC analyst.
No, TVC will issue a disclaimer.
Yeah, but I needed to avoid that coming
Absolutely, I get
by putting my attention to work. So these are the issues we must begin to look at, and I think it was over celebrated too. Okay, he did well. I won't deny that, but at the same time, he had to be brought before the House of Reps to be officially acknowledged and recognized. All of these things might have gotten into his head and make him to lose track. We must be mindful of how we celebrate people, whereby you don't end up destroying them. It's so painful. So many people that I used to follow him very religiously, and then when this happened, I was grossly disappointed.
Well, everyone,
not minding that I have no hand in making him who he is. But the situation that we saw, threw him in our faces and we embraced him.
Everyone is in awe of his achievements, his personality, his, you know, and all that. But then it was being said that he was arrested like a suspect, like a regular suspect, an ordinary citizen.
No, you see, that's the problem here.
No, I'm actually driving to a point. So the lawyers are now saying the embattled DCP can be tried immediately. Would you like to see that happening, or do you think that will happen? Immediately, tried immediately, so that we can put this issue to
I have lived long in Nigeria to know that cases drag. Evans, the kidnapper's case, took so long before he bathed at the final judgment. If we have the time, I'll have given you more cases that from the beginning, as an ab initio, it looked home and dry. But the lawyers brought in the legal jargons and tactics that delayed proceedings up until the point where even people are we got weary waiting and monitoring. So if they say they will try him expressly now, okay, well, it will be a welcome idea. People will appreciate it, but I doubt if that can be done. I cannot remember any case here that started and then judgment was delivered within what you would call reasonable time frame that's acceptable as global standard.
Right.
So that is just there. Let
me take it over the air to Ambrose. Ambrose Igboke, well, you want to see a police as an institution that is very clean, pristine, having no blemish. So I've got someone, one lawyer, who said that the police force as an institution needs surgical operation. They ought to be taken to a theater, dissected, and remove all of the clots, all of the diseases that they have. Is that possible in this country? Ambrose, did you get my question?
Yeah, okay, I get that. I don't think just in the Nigerian police. Nigeria needs a surgical operation. And it's because we isolate these cases that make us think that it's only one sector. The Nigerian police, the police just did some new recruitment, and it's still the same use from the Nigerian society. So Nigerian society celebrates wealth, no matter how you have gotten it. They celebrate riches without knowing the morality behind the riches. So they celebrate affluence without diligence. So these kind of things that happen is prevalent, and the young ones are seeing it. So they finish secondary school. Some of them go straight to be recruited into the police academy. Some of them finish as graduates, and they come to join the Nigerian police. So most of them with the mindset of, how do I get rich? How do I make it? How do I display my wealth? We celebrate this. So without questions, we even deify it. We worship it. Therefore, it's not only the Nigerian police. If we don't have a mindset restructuring where the values and the ethos of the country, or as citizens of a country, we can now start to see things in a different light, then we are going nowhere. If from the family value, where before you and I in our own time, you go to school and bring something that does not belong to you, you will receive some beating and knocks, and sometimes you are forced to return it immediately. Or sometimes your parents follow you back to school to make sure that you return it after heavy beating. Now, what do we see? We see a 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds bringing home cars as students, or somebody who has no visible means of livelihood being celebrated, building mansions, and they will celebrate them. So the same mindset that pervades society, the same mindset we find in Nigerian police, we find in the CBN, we find in NNPC, we find everywhere. And until that is changed, then our mindset remains the same. Nothing can actually happen. We will continue to nosedive.
Right, Ambrose, thank you very kindly. Let me get your final thoughts on this, Oladeinde Ariyo. Well, whether Abba Kyari is indicted or not after the investigation, all of these investigations, tying around him, in one breath or two, what do you think will be the fate of Abba Kyari at the end of the day? For
me, we are beginning to see lack of cohesion in interagency working together. We've always advocated that all the security agencies should work together. So you now see the police organization trying to exonerate itself. But you see, for me, it shouldn't be like that. Unfortunately, it happens to be Adejobi's first time out, baptism of fire as first PRO. At the end of the day, like he said, the police and every other organization, they are reflective of the society. I have called that Nigeria should be reinvented. In doing that, the police, the army, every organization, they also need to be reinvented. The NDLEA you see today is not the NDLEA of my dream. Why? A strong man is there and then he's pushing them. By the time Marwa leaves, you'll be surprised what will happen. Where is NAFDAC today? When Akoyili was in NAFDAC, every day, front page, they were there. So we have to begin the process of strengthening our institution whereby they can deliver value at all times.
Right. Well, thank you very kindly, Oladeinde Ariyo, political analyst, and Ambrose Igboke, public affairs analyst and PR consultant, who joined me via Zoom. Thank you so much.